Some of our viewers are people who are shifting into a new career area. Technology is taking over kind of one of the industries that they've been in. What is some advice that you would give them to get started thinking about a career in this space?
Don't do it. Just kidding. Sorry.
Don't do it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yay!
Yeah, we're from roughly the same cultures, same area of the world, so we might dance a little bit while we're on screen, so just bear with us.
That's going to be the future of our lifestyle. Like, you're no longer going to be looking at your phone, right? Like, you just, your life is going to change. So this, right now is a teaser of what's coming
to come. Oh my God. Welcome to Season 1 of No Credit, the video podcast that highlights the voices and stories of women and gender diverse innovators in STEM across various backgrounds and eras to ensure that their contributions never get left out of history books. Hi, I'm Zeynep Güler-Tuck, Z for short, coming to you from the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations here in Vancouver, BC. Since we're still getting to know each other, I wanted to give you a sense of how these episodes run. I'm going to share some fun facts as well as bring you into the world of history's amazing women in STEM. And then I'm going to also spotlight some of the people who are innovating here in BC, whether it's in the creative fields or the STEM fields. And my wish is that when you learn about these people, that their work, their contributions, and who they are don't get left out of history books, and their contributions are given the due credit. Today, we're focusing on Cipe Pineles, a groundbreaking art director and one of the first women to hold such a role at a major magazine. She transformed modern layout design by blending text and images, bringing iconic artists like Andy Warhol to the public eye. She may not be a typical scientist or mathematician. That's because as technology has shaped the publishing and media industries, many women and gender diverse folks were thrust into the tech and STEM environments. Cipe Pineles laid the groundwork for women and gender diverse folks in the space to innovate. Hi, today we get to speak to actually one of my close friends, Sonia Bashash. She's a creative, and I want to get this right, who visualizes, animates, and edits stories in marketing, ads, and broadcasting. I know this is lots of information. The type of thing that she does is something those who work in communications and those who work in brand storytelling get, but we're gonna actually share some of the insights and kind of dive into this world a little bit more with Sonia, because she's doing some really incredible things. She's blazing the path really here in Vancouver, but also around the world in this area, right? So, but yeah, so this is a great episode for those who are interested in merging art and tech, because Sonia wrote the book on it and she knows exactly what that looks like. So, and I'm hoping you're going to be able to tell us that. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yay!
Yeah, we're from roughly the same cultures, the same area of the world. So we might dance a little bit while we're on screen. So just bear with us. Okay, so I always start with something hard-hitting facts. One of them is, what is your favorite snack that you don't share with your family, your loved ones, significant other, all that stuff?
All of them?
All of the above. What's the one that you're like, I'm gonna sneak this because I love it so much?
It would be equal kind of chocolate and popcorn.
Chocolate and popcorn?
Yeah.
Like together?
Well, actually, yes. Together,
nice.
Separate, or chocolate with hot sauce.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that. Okay, so we gotta get
into
into
we go to a movie theater, I'm not sharing my popcorn with you.
No, we're getting 2 separate popcorns.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, so I love popcorn too. One of the popcorns that always catches my eye in the aisle is that Boom Chicka, and I'm obsessed with it. It's like colorful, and then they have all different flavors. It's a lot, and I just want to eat the whole bag, and I don't want to share it either. And this is just,
we can get along. We're in theaters.
I think we're gonna get along because we're not gonna share with each other. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to ask is, there's been twists, there's been detours, there's been ups, downs, all around. How did we get here, Sonia?
From mountains to mountains, crawling my way. Just kidding.
Tell me.
Well,
Give me the goods.
I mean, I'm born and raised in Iran. I pretty much half of my life, or I mean, less than that, but lived in Iran, born and raised, went to school, and then I moved to Canada 2006. And I mean, I had passion for like performing arts, dancing, being an athlete.
From a young age.
From a very young age. But however, where I was living at the time, where there was not a lot of opportunity to pursue any of those. So it kind of like slowly faded. And in high school, I was, towards the end of high school, you know, you kind of choose a major. I got into computers and I was really good at it. Like I loved programming, like Pascal, Visual Basics and things like that. And I was really good at picking things up, thanks to playing video games. And so long story short, I moved to Canada and I kind of was like learning English and kind of, you know.
Was this university years? You moved?
I wasn't in university in Iran.
Okay.
This is like I graduated from high school and then like a year later we moved to Canada.
Okay, so as a family you moved to Canada and you came to Vancouver?
Yeah,
Toronto,
no, Vancouver.
Vancouver.
We came to Vancouver. My parents would go back and forth because you know it was taking them a longer time to fully move.
Sure.
But I kind of stayed and slowly kind of getting comfortable with the culture, trying to figure out what's next. And I start working in retail. I kind of experimented with different kind of industries. And then I decided to go to Vancouver Film School. I wanted to get into film and TV.
So you knew young, at that young age, you were like, I'm into film, I'm going to be in film.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Like I mean, I loved watching cartoons, animations, or like I would watch like, I don't know, MTV or Viva. Yeah, I would watch like all those shows and stuff. And I would watch like all this like animations and like things, but I never thought it was my thing. But I was into them. I was like very curious about it.
Sure.
So when I went to Vancouver Film School, I took the foundation program, which you kind of get an understanding of like digital design, animation, VFX, filmmaking. Right. And I kind of was in love with all of them, right? I'm like, I want to do all of this. But then I decided to kind of specialize in the digital design. So I took another year called digital design, where we learned branding, interactive design, and motion. And that's kind of, I was like, motion is something I'm into it. Right. That kind of led me to where I am today.
Okay. And so tell me from there, because obviously back, and that wasn't a very long time ago, but still that must have been like, is any of the software still around from that day, from when you were at the Vancouver Film School? And then how has that evolved and where did that take you? Did you start working? Like, were you freelancing?
When I graduated, I wanted to kind of like freelance.
Yeah.
But I think as a new graduate, it's difficult to suddenly, because with freelancing, there's a lot of responsibility. Totally. You basically have your own business. You have to find your clients and manage them and deal with a lot of things. So as
budgeting,
negotiating, like, setting an expectation with the client. There's a lot. And as someone who just graduated, it was a bit difficult.
Sure.
And so I was like, you know what, I'll get a full-time job. That's okay. It was really difficult at the time to find jobs specifically in motion because there weren't a lot of motion opportunities. So I got an internship in Toronto. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to go for a month because Toronto is awful. It's cold. No. And I went for a month. A month happened to be 7 years. I stayed there. Yeah, I loved being in Toronto. I did that month of freelancing. Yeah. And then that led me to get a job at Bell Media. Nice. Bell Media has like a lot of Canadian channels in within obviously Canada. So I was in part of like a Much Music team. So we get to do a lot of cool projects.
Much Music comes back. Okay, so you were obsessed with Much Music.
Well, so it was Much Music, MTV, M3.
We said MTV.
Yeah, we said MTV.
Sorry, MTV, and so you got in Much Music.
But Much Music was very much aligned with,
Exactly. That was the time of Much Music,
too,
right?
Yes, exactly. So it was really cool
Yeah.
because you kind of go in and you're like, oh, I work for TV, and that's kind of like interesting.
Super cool.
So that kind of allowed me, like the projects that we would get, it was very like, this is the brief, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So we had like a lot of creative freedom into creating show packages for like
that's
different
awesome.
shows, advertising. We had MMVAs, which we all like collaborated on.
That was
like
the
creating
Much Music video, was it?
award show.
Award
yeah,
show,
yeah.
that's
Good
right.
job. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
that's right.
It's been years, honestly, and they don't even put it on anymore. Obviously, Much Music doesn't exist, but
Unfortunately.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got to do the MMVAs,
Yeah, it
packages.
Yeah, it was very collaborative on show packages.
And this is animation packages, like what we see on television. Can you describe what you've produced?
So depend on the type of projects.
Yeah.
For example, I work with like promo producers. So
Right.
for example, Pretty Little Liars. Back then, it was like something that was
Great
happening.
show. And I went bananas for that show.
Yeah, it was quite a show. It was very popular, and so I would work with the promo producer.
Yeah.
She would put together like next week, like the teaser of that show. So
Yeah.
I would working on all the graphics in between, right? So that was one type of like things I would get to work on, kind of like create like a vibe and energy for what's
Right.
you
The
know.
excitement.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So that was really fun. So, and then there was like all sorts of different kind of like shows that I got to do that.
Yeah.
So-
It's funny. We take that for granted so much, but it has such an impact on how we receive that information, how we get engaged with the show and everything like that. So that's
it's something that
amazing.
you don't really think about it.
No.
But once you notice it, you're like, wow, someone is doing a really good job
That's
to
it.
make sure you remember what's going to happen
Yeah.
or what's coming. So,
Yeah, and you're guiding them through the program too,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's super cool. Okay, and then where are we at? We're at Bell, we're in Toronto.
I'm in Toronto and I'm like, you know what? I'm up for a next challenge.
Yeah.
I don't want to just, be here forever. I
Yeah.
want to experiment other things.
Yeah.
So I quit my job to a different studio where they did digital experiences, from mobile app to immersive experiences where people can interact with whatever the brand is, hosting that event. So that was really interesting. That was like a whole different process. Like my mind just like completely shifted in terms of like working process, like a workflow plus process wise. So it was very interesting to experience that. And I really love that. And I worked there for about a year or so, and I'm like, you know what? I want to travel the world and work remotely.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of that conversation with myself that, okay, I'm ready for freelancing.
That's it.
And then there we are.
Right. And so how did that lead to freelancing became something different for you when you founded Numinas? So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Give me the inspiration for that and tell me how that came about.
So Numinas means an experience that makes you feel inspired, awe-inspiring experience, and that kind of like where the name comes from. With freelancing, I just started freelancing, and I was lucky to work on with a lot of great clients and great people within Toronto, and slowly as I was working, I was getting projects where I'm like, you know what, I can bring on other contractors and other designers to help me. And it was really kind of like gave me that boost of like, I can move on from just being freelancing to a bit like bigger projects and maybe a bigger teams. So that kind of like slowly kind of transitioned to like, okay, I can do more. I can take on more. I can challenge more. So I think that's where I am, where I'm like, okay, how do I push this forward to a bigger area, if it makes sense?
Are you kidding? That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to talk. If you want, I would love for you to kind of plug where you're headed with it, or what do you have in mind for the future of your brand or your work, and what you're hoping to get into.
Well, I'm a very generalist person.
Yeah.
A bit of ADHD. Like I want to have fun. I want to play. I want to do everything, and I want to get on my hands on so many different projects and ideas and concept, and specifically towards like technology and innovation. I think it's really fun to see where everything is going, and it's really good to be like being ahead of all of this
Is it
trends.
ever-
So I think where I would love to push push Numinas is eventually be the front run into doing a lot of like experimental, a lot of innovative work for brands that
Yeah.
really connects their audience, connect themselves with their audience in like a whole different way instead of just like a traditional advertisement or, videos or things like that. So.
Right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So teaser for when we talk about kind of some of the brands that are doing some cool stuff. But I did want to switch gears into our pioneer is Cipe Pineles. And honestly, I work in the digital space. I've worked in the digital space for many years in the media. And I've even art directed a magazine, and I know that you also come from an understanding of kind of what layout looks like, what design can bring to a certain story and the kind of media, right? I had never heard about her, and I don't know if you had heard about her, or I don't know a lot of people who heard about her, but she was honestly one of the first women art directors on a magazine, and that is crazy to me that we didn't know about her. And she laid the ground for a lot of what ended up becoming what we know to be digital design, because all of magazines and all of media, right, that print media came into the digital space. So she has laid the groundwork for a lot of the digital storytelling that we get to do nowadays, just through some of the things that she brought in during that time. You're in the digital space too, to know that there was a prolific woman that was leading in that space, because we're always assuming it's male dominated, so it's always going to be a man that created this. So,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
So that must feel good, or that must feel different to you, or do you feel like sure there's one woman, but
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like she definitely set the tone of like how the industry could be changed.
Right.
How it's not just, it should, it's not about men or female, like, woman. It's just like everyone can do whatever they want. Like, why has to be like one excluded?
Right.
And her work is she has done a lot of iconic, beautiful magazine covers for Vogue. She's done, as you said, like the layouts. Like right now, design without layout, it's nothing. Like you need your grid, you need your system to kind of like take people's eyes through the whole story. So she's definitely done that, and we need more of her. And I think there are a lot of more of her.
Now the industry's a little bit more balanced, where there's a lot more of Cipe Pineles who are bringing that innovation. So I think that laying that groundwork for the innovation that we get to do now in that space is pretty remarkable. But yeah, so she wasn't one of the STEM. Like I loved this pioneer because technically she's not in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields, but she laid the groundwork for what technology has transformed in terms of the media industry and the broadcasting and all that, because now we're leveraging technology to do all of this stuff, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is crazy. I never thought I'd be considered a woman in tech, like a person in tech, when I first started in the magazines and stuff like that. So I don't know about you, but you were always kind of in tech. You were you loved computers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, since I remember, when we bought our first Atari game, we start playing video games, it blew my mind of like, okay, I want to do things like that, or video games come like early on. It was you would know that the world is moving towards that. So 100%.
That's cool that you saw that. You had that innovative mindset that it was like, I want to get into this.
Yeah, I think. I come from a culture. I wouldn't say a culture, but you kind of, sometimes a society kind of defines some people's role, right? Like you get married, you have kids. So there's a certain thing. And since I was a young age, I knew I'm like, I will do anything but that. I want to do whatever I want. No one can tell me what to do.
Right.
So that kind of like set that curiosity to be like, okay, what are the other opportunities that? So, which led to technology.
That. Well, that's it, and led to technology. So you saw that, and you were able to kind of go, and you blazed that path. Don't forget, you blazed that path. Okay, so how do you, in your experiences with your work, leverage storytelling? Tell a story for a brand that moves them forward, that using technology.
Absolutely. I mean, the way how we tell stories at Numinas, we work with clients to see what kind of message they're trying to give to their audience. All right. So, for example, American Express has this new product that they want to tell their audience. Okay, this is what we have. This is how they're going to help you. But how do we say it more engaging? How is it memorable? And how is it fun? And allows you to watch the whole thing from the beginning till the end. So that's from there, we kind of take that idea and the goal that we have in mind, they have in mind, and we start writing a story for it and then visualize and take viewer's eye through that whole experience. We also try to identify what is the best approach. Does it have to be like a shorter version, like a 10-second, 15-second, or like 30 seconds long, depending what we kind of like need to communicate from the brand to their audience.
All right, so we're now at our Up Your IQ session or section, and we had to talk about some of the stuff that goes through Sonia's brain on a regular basis.
Oh my.
Because I know when we were talking prior to this, immersive experiences was something that you brought up that you got really excited about. So I'd love for you to share in layman's terms, because obviously this section is really to help people wrap their heads around some really cool stuff that in innovation, in the innovation space. So what is an immersive experience?
Immersive experience is using a physical space, combining with like digital and creating an experience where audience or people can go and interact with it, right? Or being part of an immersive spatial area. I think that's kind of a basic explanation of what I think what an immersive experience is. And it is really fun because it's a really unique way to really make things more memorable for people. That's it. I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, the first time I've ever been to an experience was by, I was in Washington, D.C., and I walked into this like experience called Arctic House. And we kind of didn't have any expectation of what we're going to experience. And the moment we walked in, this massive space, all projected, all this beautiful art and sound and visuals, like all this like combining together created like such a breathtaking like moment for us. Like we walked in and we were like, where are we? This is so cool.
Are we still on Earth, right?
Yeah, and that really triggered into like how many more things we can do. And now like immersive experiences are like huge.
I went to the one in Toronto. They do these really cheesy ones with the artists.
Right.
I went to the Klimt one, which I love Klimt, Gustav Klimt, the artist. And they did like this really cool immersive experience and you felt like you were like part of the artwork. But you had posted something on your social media where there was like water, there was like a shoreline and the water was coming and going. And where was that? That was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen.
Right.
In an immersive experience.
Me too. So I was in Dubai for a few months.
Yeah.
And Dubai, they're doing a really good job at immersive experiences, and they have like different kind of like exhibitions that do that. And one of them, you know, they had that. You walk in and you're just like in this whole crazy world. Like we went through like rooms and experiences, and like one of my favorite moments was we went to this cafe area and we ordered a drink, and they, you know, we put the glass on top of a table. Yeah. And then suddenly, like, there's like this beautiful flowers, blossoms underneath where your cup is.
That's cool.
And then when you moved your cup, they kind of like follow it, and a new one kind of grew. And that was just so, like, we were sitting there and just moving.
Yeah, it just elevates your experience of your spatial.
Absolutely.
Your space, right?
Yeah, like, for example, in terms of like going back to the conversation of storytelling, like one of the areas, they really brought in like the like Dubai scenery into this interesting visuals. Nice. So you were just watching there and really felt what Dubai felt like. So they really kind of created that vibe for you, that you felt really connected with the city in like a very simplest way possible.
Super cool.
There were so many of them.
Yeah. So tell me, now we're going to move into AR, VR. Like, what is AR? What is AR and VR AR stand for and what does VR stand for? And then what are they?
Yeah. So I'm very excited about AR. AR is augmented reality.
Right.
It's pretty much combining digital, like
Yeah.
for example, graphics
Yeah.
into physical world through a device.
Got it.
So for example, you know, have you done those like Facebook masks or like Snapchat masks with like the funny?
Of course.
So that is one type of augmented reality,
Got
right? It's like you are looking at yourself in the camera, but there are graphics on you. So
Yeah.
that's like, that would be a good example of augmented reality.
Sure.
There's right now conversations actually happening with AR glasses where Facebook is coming up with one, Snapchat is coming with another. So like you would wear your glasses and now you can actually, instead of looking at your phone, things will come into your physical space and your interaction is completely changes.
Right, like in Pokemon Go did crazy about that. Like educated people on that during the pandemic and everything like that mainly. So that's kind of what we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
And then virtual reality.
Virtual reality, you're fully immersed
Yeah.
into an experience. So when you put the headset, you kind of like, you are in like a virtual world and you're interacting like a whole different level.
Right.
And
you can no longer see your physical environment, right? You see what's
what's in it. However, like you can kind of create a space where you can match the physical space to what their experience is. So like you can kind of walk around and interacting while you're in that world. There's also an XR, which is mixed reality, which is a combination of both. So that's also another area that within that world exists.
That's amazing. So in Vancouver specifically, Signals did an exhibition that was incredible, that incorporated AR and VR, and I think they brought in, obviously, they also brought in AI and some of this mixed, you call it mixed reality?
Mixed reality,
yeah. They brought in some of that too, where it kind of merged both of those, which is just mind-blowing, but just so exciting. If you're curious about it and you start looking into it, it just you can go down rabbit holes and learn all about this stuff. Right?
Yeah, and that's going to be the future of our lifestyle. Like you're no longer going to be looking at your phone, right? Like you just your life is going to change. So this, you know, right now is a teaser of what's coming
to come.
up.
Oh my God. Okay, now when we talk about coming up, AI is the hottest topic in town.
Hottest of all.
Right, and we're going to poo-poo. Lots of people are poo-pooing it, loss of jobs. There's a lot of detrimental impacts to this kind of technology if it's not regulated or if it's not taken care of and used responsibly. AI, you mentioned, your company, you yourself as a creative are able to leverage AI for creative ideation, for storytelling. Can you tell us a bit about how you're using artificial intelligence to be able to create, to be able to tell stories?
Absolutely. So definitely AI is changing the world, right? And some people are ready for it. Some people are very uncomfortable, which is understandable. From the get-go, I thought AI is a tool to make everyone's life easier, not take that away from you.
Exactly.
And if you go with that mindset of like, okay, now I have a little assistant that can help me, it's not only going to elevate your work, but it also going to help with your business as well, with the way how you're handling your clients. It's potentially like is a lot of gain and a lot of losses.
Yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned there's going to be like a lot of there's going to be regulations around it. Definitely, there's a lot of things that needs to be worked on. Inshallah,
right?
But I definitely use it a lot. Like whether I want to come up with ideas or if like things that I want to experiment, I definitely go into like whether I have a setup on my machine where I can just use AI and experiment, or Mid-Journey, Runway, or if I just getting ideas out to kind of like play around to see where it could go is really nice.
Like
but I wouldn't
prototyping and all that.
I wouldn't deliver. Say if I create something on Mid-Journey, I wouldn't deliver that to my client.
Oh God,
that's a no.
Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
Please don't chat GPT and then send it out into the world.
Yeah,
let's use that for the first step draft. And then let's use our critical thinking, right?
Absolutely.
To take it further.
Yeah, and like a lot of like, for example, I've been recently really using Miro.
Miro's great.
Miro is fantastic, and they've added AI into that even more. And it's like things has changed. Like your workflow really changes, and You got to be in it.
You got to be in it. It's
Yeah.
not terrifying. We can get through this. We just use it. Use it for what we need.
Did I answer your question, by the way?
You totally answered my question. I appreciate it. Go for it. What's your morning routine?
I wake up, make a coffee, and go to gym.
Nice.
And I'll come home, I have breakfast, and then get ready and go on my computer and check my inbox. And
Okay, so email's the way you start after you do your routine.
yeah.
And then do you do any brainstorming? Do you kind of...
It depends on the day. It depends
on the
on
day.
what's happening. Because sometimes you're busy like working on a project. So
Right.
you kind of like, my day shifts based on what needs to be done.
Sure.
If it's more quiet time, then no, let's see what's happening in the inbox, organize what needs to be done. I usually try to organize my next day the night before. So I'm not like running around and, trying to figure out what I need to do.
Huge tip. That's a huge tip.
Yeah, I think it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then it helps you sleep better instead of just thinking and overthinking.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
But that doesn't mean things will go unplanned.
No, of course not.
But
Of course not. Come on, we're trying. Some of our viewers are people who are shifting into a new career area. Technology is taking over kind of one of the industries that they've been in. And they're curious and interested in the digital world and digital storytelling and branding, marketing, and all that. What is some advice that you would give them to get started thinking about a career in this space?
Don't do it. Just kidding. Sorry.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Try something different.
I keep saying don't say that, and I just did it. Oh God, I'm sorry.
Try something different. Go another way. No, because I mean, it's going to have its ups and downs. So what's the advice we can give?
It's right now, I feel like it's such an interesting transitioning in the world right now with the whole AI. It's like I even sometimes observe, like I'm just watching where everything is going, right? The way how you would do branding or design or shifting your workflow. But I think being in technology, I think is fantastic because it's something that you will forever be part of.
Exactly.
Right? So it's definitely watching trends, what is happening. You know what though? I said watching trends. I've recently realized like social media, there's too much noises.
Too much noise.
People are trying to like show this and that and actually becomes overwhelming to a point that you actually get scared from it.
I agree.
So follow your gut feeling. What do you want to do? What is important? And focus on that and search where the industry going towards that and stick to it. I think technology is what's that?
I agree where it's at. And if you can find communities that are involved in technology, whether they're women in tech communities or other types of communities that are curious and are in that industry and within technology, I think that's a great way as well.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you got to find your people, right?
Finding your tribe is important.
Yeah.
For example, with Vancouver Film School, that gave me such a network of people. Like whether I was in Dubai and one of my friends that from BFS, she was there, right?
That's awesome.
You have access to like all this connection of people. But when you go solo and you don't really tap into that, it actually could be a really not dark, but it's like challenging because you're just trying to figure out everything on your own.
Yeah.
But when you have people to really rely on or have that conversation, it makes your life a lot easier.
Is it ever?
Sure.
What do you love the most about what you get to do as a creative?
I love the both business side and the creative side, and all of that go together. If I don't have a good client and a good project, it's really hard to create. So having that business, having that client, and having that planning gives me a structure into creating. And in creating, then when you have objectives, it really helps you to like build what you want, also help someone else. When you're in the flow of creating, that is the best place to be. Because you're no longer hearing anyone, nothing matters, and you're just like floating into building and creation. And I think that is the part of the design that makes it really worth the time and energy.
That's it. That's what we're chasing all the time.
Yeah.
That those moments, right?
Yeah.
And you're also an actor. So what do you love the most about acting and in that space and what you get to do as an actor?
I think acting is also, it's like also creative work. And I think maybe I'm also drawn into that as well. Acting, well, I always wanted to be an actor, but it just didn't work out until recently. So I sit in front of a computer for hours, as you can tell, if I'm like, you know, working, like I'm like a lot, like long hours. And I'm a very social person. I want to be around people. I want to kind of like really be physically active in a certain way. And acting, it's exactly what fills that spot for me. So like I can kind of break that in, still be very creative, express myself in like a whole different way that I would do normally.
That's so cool.
And tap into different characters or personalities. So that's why I think, that's what acting does for me.
It really is an extension of your creativity, which is very cool to see. I love seeing you on screen, by the way.
Thank
so
you.
FYI.
Thank you.
My final question would be, what is your favorite spot to hang out in Vancouver?
For what?
Anything. What's the one place that comes to mind when I say, what's your spot?
For creative meetings, there's a place on Homer Street.
Yeah.
It's called Leisure Time.
Yeah.
And is this like really interesting 2-level boutique that they always do really interesting like decoration, but they also have like a coffee shop set up where they have like beautiful desk and chairs and they have like this shelf with like books, like this beautiful setup here. So it feels very creative. So like sometimes I haven't been there for a while, but that's like my spot to have creative conversations.
So we're meeting there next week, right?
That's
exactly
that's
where we're
exactly
meeting.
what
Okay.
it is.
I want to thank you for coming on. As my friend, I appreciate you so much.
Likewise, thank you.
Oh my gosh. And as a creative though, as someone who is really bridging that art and tech in such cool ways, you are inspiring so many of us to kind of want to stay in it, even when technology gets us down. We want to stay here and we want to create and we want to see what's next. And I love the work that you are doing and we want you to continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So any way that we can support you, let me know.
Thank you.
But thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. And I just want to insert this, that you are incredible as well.
Oh, thank you.
Every time I talk to you, it's always a creative conversation.
Yay.
And you are a doer and you make things happen. Like I have creative ideas, but sometimes they don't go anywhere. But someone like you, you make things happen. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. And thanks for tuning in and tune in to the next episode of No Credit. Thanks for tuning in to No Credit. We hope you've enjoyed hearing about the incredible stories of trailblazers in the STEM and creative fields. Together, we've challenged stereotypes and ensured their groundbreaking contributions are never left out of history books. Until next time.
This is good for her. Yeah. We landed on a space rock. Like, hello. So when it points at you, you see it. But then it rotates away and you see nothing.
Hers were the first ones specifically designed to power this machine and take it kind of beyond basic calculator status into a computer.
And so I just think of like all of the indirect impact it's having, and I just can't think of anything cooler.
It's okay to fail, it's okay to suck. I play piano and I'm just like, I'm not good, I'm gonna sit. And like, that's fine.
Learning to do things that for you are helpful and positive.
Yes.
Learning how to breathe, the thing that we do all the time. Right.
Yeah, we're from roughly the same cultures, the same area of the world, so we might dance a little bit while we're on screen, so just bear with us. Do you want to give us like the one-line premise? Because I feel like it's over-practiced now.
No, it's just like I have come up with the solution to all the world's problems, right? Climate, of course. We've eradicated global poverty, have true trans-species democracy.
Yes.
And we just had to turn back technology a little bit, and everybody has to leave by 50.